The massive Concorde evaluation ship hung in orbit above Earth, dwarfing the human vessels that approached it. Admiral Park stood rigidly at attention on the bridge of the UES Thunderbolt, watching as the viewscreen displayed the alien delegation boarding through the main airlock.
"Remember," he told his crew quietly, "they expect us to be impressed by them. Not the other way around."
Captain Kim nodded beside him. "They've been in space for thousands of years. It's natural they would think we're behind."
The alien officials entered the bridge with an air of polite condescension. High Inspector Xylos moved forward, his translucent body glowing with subtle patterns that the human translators had learned indicated mild amusement.
"We welcome Earth to the galactic community," Xylos said through his translator. "This assessment is merely a formality.
All species must be classified for defensive capabilities upon joining the Concorde."
Admiral Park bowed slightly. "We understand. We're honored to demonstrate our ship's capabilities."
Xylos waved a limb dismissively as his team spread out to examine the bridge stations.
"Your vessel is compact.
Most civilizations at your development stage build for grandeur." "We build for purpose," Park replied simply. The aliens spent 3 hours examining the Thunderbolt, their initial interest fading to what seemed like pity. Their own massive ship visible through the viewports was a gleaming monument of technology, at least 20 times larger than the human vessel. "You have achieved much in a short time," Xylos said diplomatically, "but your weapons systems seem quite basic.
Standard kinetic projectiles, primitive guidance systems." Captain Kim cleared her throat. "Would you like to see a demonstration?"
The alien delegation agreed, clearly expecting little. Park ordered the ship to the designated testing area, where automated drones had been positioned as targets. "Begin standard combat simulation," Park ordered.
What happened next changed everything.
The Thunderbolt's systems came alive with terrifying efficiency.
Point defense guns tracked and eliminated incoming projectiles with perfect accuracy.
Missile launches occurred so rapidly the tubes seemed to fire continuously. The main cannons fired with precision that left the alien observers silently staring at their data screens.
"Impossible," one whispered. "The energy efficiency alone." High Inspector Xylos moved closer to Admiral Park.
"Your weapons are not elaborate, but their effectiveness is concerning.
You've optimized for kill probability rather than display." Park nodded. "We faced extinction-level threats on Earth before achieving space travel. We learned to build weapons that work, not weapons that impress."
The demonstration continued with the Thunderbolt executing maneuvers that strained its structural integrity. The crew performed with practiced ease, showing no signs of stress despite the extreme forces. "Your people tolerate conditions that would incapacitate most Concorde species," Xylos observed. "You've hardened both your ships and yourselves for combat." When the simulation ended, the alien delegation huddled together, speaking urgently in their native language.
Park and Kim waited patiently until Xylos approached them again. "We have seen enough," the High Inspector said. "We must consult with the Concorde Defense Committee immediately."
3 days later, the classification came through.
Admiral Park read the document with a frown growing on his face.
"Human warships are hereby classified as extinction-class weapons and subject to Special Regulation 557B. Deployment outside human space requires Concorde Council approval.
Construction of additional vessels must be reported and monitored." Captain Kim read over his shoulder. "They're afraid of us."
"No," Park corrected. "They're afraid of what we built without even trying to be frightening." He looked up at the stars visible through the viewport.
"What does that say about us?"
The news spread quickly through Earth's military command. Some took pride in the classification, while others worried about the restrictions.
But Admiral Park understood something more profound had occurred.
"We've been fighting ourselves for so long we forgot there might be another way," he told Kim as they watched the Concorde ship prepare to depart. "Maybe their fear will help us see ourselves more clearly."
As the massive alien vessel disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Park made a decision.
He would work to show the Concorde that humans could be trusted with the deadly efficiency they had mastered.
They would need to learn to balance power with restraint.
He could not have known then how soon that balance would be tested, or how the galaxy would tremble when human warships finally unleashed their full potential. The emergency alarm blared throughout Concord Station Alpha as Admiral Park hurried down the corridor. 6 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Concord, and the initial excitement had given way to uncomfortable tension.
Human warships remained under strict regulation, their crews frustrated by limits placed on their movements.
Park entered the central command chamber where representatives from 12 species gathered around a large holographic display.
The mood was grim.
"Admiral Park, thank you for joining us," said Counselor Traz, a tall, feathered being who served as the current head of defense.
"We face a serious situation."
The hologram showed a star system on the outer rim of Concord space. Red markers indicated enemy positions swarming around a blue planet. "The Hive Imperium has attacked Proxima Colony," Traz explained.
3,000 Concord citizens are dead. 2 defensive fleets destroyed. Park studied the display carefully. He had read reports about the Hive Imperium, a collective consciousness spread across millions of drone bodies. They expanded continuously, consuming resources and incorporating useful genetic material from conquered species. "How many attacks so far?" he asked.
7 systems in the past month, replied Representative Lee, Earth's diplomatic liaison.
"The Hive has never moved this aggressively before."
Captain Kim, who stood beside Park, leaned forward.
"What defensive measures are being deployed?"
The aliens exchanged uncomfortable glances.
"Our standard response fleet has proven ineffective," admitted Traz. "The Hive's biological ships regenerate quickly and outnumber us everywhere." Park recognized the unspoken question hanging in the air. "You want to deploy human warships?" "We're considering all options," Traz said carefully. "The same ships you classified as too dangerous to use in Concord space?" Kim asked, unable to hide her irritation.
An argument erupted among the council members.
Some insisted human ships must remain restricted while others argued for immediate deployment.
"Enough," Park said firmly. The room fell silent.
"Show me the tactical data from previous engagements."
For 2 hours, Park and Kim analyzed the battles.
The Hive used overwhelming numbers, sacrificing thousands of drones without hesitation. Concord ships were designed for ceremonial precision duels, not the chaotic swarm tactics they now faced.
"I have a proposal," Park finally said.
"Let us deploy the 5th Fleet."
Just 3 ships, the Intrepid, the Dauntless, and the Stalwart.
A small enough force to control, but enough to test our approach.
3 ships against thousands, asked a skeptical council member. "Size isn't everything," Kim replied with a thin smile. "Something you noted during our initial classification." The debate lasted another 6 hours.
Many representatives feared unleashing human warships would violate the Concord's ethical combat protocols.
Others worried it might encourage the Hive to escalate further. "While you debate, more colonies fall," Park said finally.
"The Hive doesn't recognize your ethical concerns. They recognize only victory or defeat."
Representative Lee presented data showing the next likely Hive target, the agricultural world of New Horizon with a population of 12 million. "If New Horizon falls, 4 core systems will face food shortages," Lee explained.
"We cannot allow this." The council voted narrowly to approve a limited deployment. 3 human warships would defend New Horizon, under strict operational guidelines. Back aboard the Thunderbolt, Park briefed his captains via secure channel.
"The restrictions are problematic," said Captain Yoon of the Dauntless.
"No targeting biological control centers? No strategic withdrawal to draw enemy forces?"
"They want us to fight like they do and lose like they do."
Park nodded. "We'll follow their guidelines, creatively. Remember, this isn't just about stopping the Hive. It's about showing the Concord that human tactics can save lives, not just take them."
Captain Kim examined the battle plans.
"The Hive will expect us to defend the orbital stations first. They don't understand human priorities."
"Exactly," Park agreed.
"We'll protect the civilians first, infrastructure second. The Concord doesn't understand that's always been our approach."
As the 5th Fleet prepared for departure, Park received a private message from Counselor Traz.
Admiral, off the record, many of us are counting on your success. The Hive threatens everything we've built.
But others fear that if humans prove too effective in battle, the power balance in the Concorde will shift forever. Park considered this as he watched his ships prepare for jump.
Tell your colleagues they needn't worry, he replied. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to survive in it.
As the 3 human warships disappeared into hyperspace, Park knew they carried more than weapons. They carried the future relationship between humanity and the stars.
The Hive was coming.
And for the first time, they would face an enemy who fought not for honor or territory, but for survival itself. Captain Yoon stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, watching the tactical display as the 3 human warships emerged from hyperspace near New Horizon.
The planet gleamed blue-green below them, its orbital stations already beginning emergency evacuations. Civilian ships streamed away from the planet in a desperate exodus. Hive fleet detected, announced the sensor officer. 93 vessels approaching from the outer system. Estimated arrival in 22 minutes. Yoon opened a channel to the other 2 ships. Stalwart, Intrepid, confirm battle plan Thunderclap. Stalwart confirms, came the immediate response. Intrepid confirms, added Captain Jean.
Though I still think the Concorde restrictions will get us killed.
Yoon smiled slightly.
The restrictions say we can't fire first.
They don't specify what counts as first. A new signal appeared on the communications array.
A Concorde observation vessel had arrived to monitor the human ship's compliance with regulations.
Captain Yoon, came a formal voice, this is Observer Trell. I will be reporting your actions directly to the Defense Council. Remember, you are required to follow standard Concorde engagement protocols.
Understood, Observer, Yoon replied calmly.
We are here to protect New Horizon, nothing more. As the massive Hive fleet approached, Yoon studied their formation.
Unlike the ordered patterns of Concorde fleets, the Hive ships moved like a chaotic swarm, constantly shifting positions. Their biological vessels resembled massive insects, ranging from fighter-sized drones to enormous carrier ships.
They expect us to form a defensive line, Yoon noted. Standard Concorde doctrine.
Which is why we won't, replied his tactical officer.
Thunderclap ready on your order. Yoon waited until the Hive fleet was just entering weapons range.
The observation vessel was broadcasting warnings about maintaining formation and waiting for the proper engagement distance.
Now, Yoon ordered quietly.
What happened next confounded both the Hive and the Concorde observers. Instead of forming a defensive line, the 3 human ships executed a complex series of maneuvers. The Dauntless accelerated directly toward the Hive fleet while the Stalwart and Intrepid broke in opposite directions, their engines pushing to maximum power.
What are you doing? Demanded Observer Trell. This is not approved tactical doctrine.
Yoon ignored the transmission as the Dauntless cut through the leading edge of the Hive formation. The enemy ships, confused by the unexpected approach, scattered to avoid collision.
Deploy countermeasures, Yoon ordered. The Dauntless released hundreds of small objects that appeared to be debris. The Hive ships ignored them, focusing on the human vessel that had violated their formation.
Meanwhile, the Stalwart and Intrepid had circled to the flanks of the Hive fleet. When the lead ships pursued the Dauntless, they created a gap in their formation.
Phase 2, Yoon commanded.
The countermeasures suddenly activated, revealing themselves as autonomous drones. They attached to the hulls of the largest Hive ships and began broadcasting confusing signals that mimicked Hive communication patterns.
We're not firing weapons, Yoon explained to his crew with a slight smile. We're just talking to them in their language.
The Hive fleet's organized movement collapsed into chaos as ships received contradictory commands.
Some turned to attack each other, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Phase 3, Yoon ordered.
Now the Stalwart and Intrepid struck from opposite sides, targeting specific vessels that appeared to be command nodes.
Their weapons fired with surgical precision, disabling rather than destroying. Observer Trell is demanding explanation, reported the communications officer.
Tell him we're employing minimum necessary force to protect civilian lives, Yoon replied. And suggest he watch carefully. The battle lasted only 17 minutes. When it ended, more than half the Hive fleet had retreated in disarray. The remainder were disabled or destroying each other due to the communication confusion. Not a single civilian transport had been lost.
On the Concorde observation vessel, officials watched in stunned silence.
One turned to observer Trell.
"They didn't use overwhelming force," she said quietly.
"They used intelligence. That's what makes them dangerous," Trell replied.
"They think differently." Back on the Dauntless, Yoon received a transmission from Admiral Park at Concorde headquarters. "Well done, Captain.
Minimal casualties, colony saved. But our demonstration has had mixed results."
"Sir? Half the council is impressed by our efficiency. The other half is terrified by it.
They've never seen war fought this way, without honor displays or traditional formations." Yoon looked at the tactical display, showing the disabled Hive ships.
"We didn't build our military for show, sir." "I know," Park replied. "That's what worries them."
"We fought to win, not to look good losing." As the human ships moved to secure the system, news of their victory spread rapidly across Concorde space.
For some, it brought hope. For others, a disturbing question: what would happen if humans ever turned these tactics against the Concorde itself? Captain Yoon didn't concern himself with politics. He had a colony to protect and a message to send to the Hive: humanity fought differently.
And they were just getting started. The Concorde Council chamber erupted in voices as the recording of the New Horizon battle ended. Representatives from 27 species argued over the tactical display, pointing at the movements of the human ships with expressions ranging from admiration to horror. "This is not warfare as we understand it," shouted the Draxian representative, his scales flushing bright orange with emotion.
"The humans used deception and trickery. They saved 12 million civilians with minimal casualties on either side," countered Representative Lee calmly. "Results speak for themselves." Admiral Park stood silently at the center of the chamber, hands clasped behind his back.
Beside him, Commander Song, his chief tactical officer, watched the debate with barely concealed frustration. The Concorde Prime Minister, a tall, willowy being named Ilara, raised her hands for silence. "We cannot deny the effectiveness of human tactics, but many find them disturbing. Fighting without declared formations, using communication disruption, targeting command structures specifically, these violate our traditions of honorable combat." "The Hive doesn't care about your traditions," Song said quietly, then flinched as Park shot her a warning glance. "What Commander Song means," Park explained diplomatically, "is that different threats require different responses.
The Hive uses overwhelming numbers and biological adaptability. Traditional Concorde tactics were proving ineffective."
Before the debate could continue, emergency alerts flashed across the chamber's displays. A harried communications officer rushed in, heading straight for the Prime Minister.
"The Hive has launched simultaneous attacks on 5 systems," the officer reported. "Early reports indicate their ships have adapted countermeasures against the tactics used at New Horizon." Silence fell across the chamber as the implications sank in. The tactical display updated to show Hive fleets advancing deep into Concorde space. "They're not just adapting," Park observed, studying the patterns. "They're evolving.
The Hive has analyzed our response and improved."
"Then we've made things worse," accused the Draxian representative. "Human intervention has provoked a stronger response."
Commander Song stepped forward, her patience finally exhausted.
"This was always the Hive's plan.
They test defenses, adapt, and continue. The only difference is that at New Horizon, they found something they didn't expect."
The Prime Minister looked gravely at the tactical display.
"We need a coordinated response."
"Admiral Park, what do you recommend?" Park knew this moment would define humanity's place in the Concorde. Full deployment of human warships, integrated with Concorde fleets. Uproar followed his words.
Many representatives objected immediately, while others nodded in reluctant agreement.
"If we authorize this," the Prime Minister asked, "how can we ensure human tactics won't exceed ethical boundaries?"
Commander Song moved to a console and uploaded a file to the main display.
"We've developed a hybrid command protocol. Human tactical efficiency combined with Concord ethical frameworks.
We're calling it precision doctrine. The display showed a complex battle simulation where human and alien ships worked in coordinated patterns.
Human vessels executed their unpredictable maneuvers while Concord ships followed more traditional formations, each complementing the other's strengths.
This would require joint command, Park explained. A human and Concord officer on each primary vessel, making decisions together. The council deliberated for hours while reports of hive advances continued to arrive. Finally, with 3 more colonies under attack, the Prime Minister called for a vote. By majority decision, the Council authorizes integrated fleet operations under the proposed precision doctrine, with the condition that human commanders accept Concord ethical advisors. Later, aboard the UES Thunderbolt, now designated as the fleet flagship, Park met with Captain Kim and newly promoted Rear Admiral Song. They still don't trust us, Kim observed, watching as Concord liaison officers boarded the ship.
Would you?
Park asked.
We showed them a completely different way of fighting. It scared them. Song studied the tactical displays showing the approaching hive fleets.
Our paired command structure will slow decision-making. Then we adapt, Park replied.
That's what humans do best.
A tall Concord officer approached and introduced himself as Captain Nellox.
I've been assigned as your ethical advisor, Admiral Park. Park nodded respectfully.
Welcome aboard, Captain. I hope you'll find our methods have more in common with your values than you might expect.
How so? Nellox asked skeptically.
We both want to preserve life, Park explained.
We just disagree on the best way to do it. In battle, sometimes mercy requires decisive action.
As the integrated fleet prepared for departure, Admiral Song addressed the mixed crews of human and alien personnel.
Today we begin something unprecedented, she said.
We fight not as humans or as Concord species, but as something new.
A hive adapts through biological evolution. We will adapt through cooperation.
The massive fleet launched into hyperspace, heading toward the nearest conflict zone.
Among the crews, uncertainty and hope mingled in equal measure. No one knew if this experiment would succeed, but all understood the alternative was defeat.
On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Park watched the hyperspace field with Captain Nellox beside him. You still have doubts, Park observed. I wonder if our differences are too great to overcome, Nellox admitted.
Park smiled slightly.
That's what makes this worth trying.
The hive seeks uniformity.
We seek strength in diversity. As the fleet approached the battle zone, one truth became clear to all: whatever emerged from this crucible would forever change galactic warfare. In the quiet town of Millbrook, Sarah and Michael stood facing each other in the old community center, their past conflicts slowly melting away like winter snow. The tension that had divided them for years now seemed fragile and unnecessary. Michael's hands trembled slightly as he spoke about the misunderstanding that had separated him from his childhood best friend. Years ago, a rumor had spread that he had betrayed Sarah's trust during their college years, a story that turned out to be completely fabricated by someone who wanted to create drama between them. Sarah listened carefully, her green eyes softening as she realized how much pain they had both endured because of a lie. The story that had torn them apart was nothing more than a carefully constructed web of deceit, designed to break their friendship. I never wanted us to stop talking, Michael said quietly, his voice filled with a mixture of regret and hope.
I missed you more than I can explain.
The community center, with its worn wooden floors and faded photographs of past town events, seemed to hold its breath. Outside, the late afternoon sunlight filtered through dusty windows, casting long shadows that seemed to connect their broken memories. Sarah remembered all the birthdays they had celebrated together, the summers they had spent exploring the town's hidden corners, and the dreams they had shared before everything fell apart.
Those memories were not easily erased, even by years of silence and misunderstanding.
As they talked, the truth slowly emerged. The person who had spread the original rumor was someone they both knew, a mutual acquaintance who had been jealous of their close friendship. This revelation hit them both like a sudden gust of wind, clearing away the accumulated dust of misunderstanding. Michael pulled out an old photograph from his wallet, a picture of them as teenagers, standing in front of the town library, their arms around each other and wide smiles on their faces. The image was slightly faded, but the emotions were crystal clear. "We were so close," he said, his finger tracing the edges of the photograph.
"I never wanted to lose that."
Sarah felt tears forming in her eyes. The years of separation suddenly seemed like a massive waste of time. They had both built successful lives, Michael as a local school teacher and Sarah as a freelance graphic designer, but something had always felt incomplete. The town of Millbrook, small and tight-knit as it was, had watched their friendship's dissolution with quiet sadness. Many residents remembered how close they had once been and had wondered what had caused their sudden separation. As the afternoon light began to fade, they made a promise to rebuild their friendship. Not to return to exactly what they had been before, but to create something new, a friendship tempered by time, understanding, and the wisdom that comes from experiencing life's complex challenges. Michael suggested they grab coffee at the local diner, a place that held countless memories of their shared past. Sarah agreed, her smile tentative but genuine. The diner's familiar red booths and the smell of fresh coffee seemed to welcome them back into a shared narrative. Their conversation flowed easily now, punctuated by laughter and moments of reflective silence. They talked about their families, their careers, the dreams they had pursued, and the unexpected turns their lives had taken. As the evening approached, they walked out of the diner together, their steps in sync like they had never been apart. The town seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief, witnessing the healing of a friendship that many had thought was lost forever. The road ahead would not be without challenges, but they were ready to face them together. Their renewed connection was a testament to the power of understanding, forgiveness, and the unbreakable bonds of true friendship. In Millbrook, where stories spread quickly and memories ran deep, Sarah and Michael's reconciliation would become another thread in the rich tapestry of the town's shared history, a story of hope, healing, and the unexpected paths of human connection.